So for the players, it's to deal with any damage they've taken during those conflicts. And because the damage in Night Waves is all it's kind of outward, fatigue,
Right.
where you need to go somewhere and just chill out,
Right.
get a burger, get some sleep. There's some kind of cooldown where you're out of the action temporarily. The middle, for pain, it's you have to engage with your bonds,
right,
and you have to dump your shit on them. So it's either it's physical pain, like you're bleeding from a stab wound, and you go into your girlfriend,
right,
who's a veteran.
No, I get that.
And then danger is it's a weird one, but I won't talk about that right now.
That's fine. But the point is that
you have to get rid of those conditions.
Criteria. So okay, that's fine. But again, you're just dealing with sort of task-based stuff in the moment to move numbers around. I'm talking more about actions, situations, and the next morning ...
Right.
And some of that is through player proactivity. They're like, shit, that just happened.
Yes.
Well, we're doing this next. But even if they do that, and if they don't, the controller needs to have some notion of what they've got rolling in. And there's a couple of things. We all know one of the classic ways is that you've already got your chapters in your mind.
Mm-hmm.
So whatever just happened, just start the next chapter. Whatever just happened. I mean, what's the worst?
Right.
I lost a few hit points, right? So what?
Right.
Start the next chapter. Doesn't matter. And I mean, you can read I'm thinking of some of the modules. There's one of my favorites is actually for the Arabian Nights setting for 2nd edition Dungeons and Dragons. I've got a bunch of those adventure modules, and they are almost hilarious in their method of ensuring that the players go to the next place with the right task in mind. I mean, to the point where it's kind of like if the players don't, or if they didn't get that clue or whatever, I mean, some damn thing is going to pick them up by the scruff of the neck and put them in the next situation with the information that they have to go find the man with the green turban. Right. I mean, it is just there is like a safety valve built into every single chapter in case they fuck it up. Right. And so
it's funny, in an earlier version of the rules, I think maybe like somewhere between 2 and 4, versions 2 and 4, I just dispense with all that stuff completely, and so have you played fighting games like Double Dragon or any of those 80s games?
No, I've only seen
at a certain point
martial arts movies that were made as spin-offs.
Right. So at a certain, the action's unfolding on the screen, but you can't go off screen, right? The enemies might be able to wander off screen and then wander back on, or you can hit people, but basically you're locked onto the screen. As soon as the enemies are taken care of, you can now move to the right and continue. It will now scroll with you. If you don't move, eventually a large arrow will literally appear and start flashing, pointing to right, so you know to walk right.
Or even
I basically had that.
Even more amusingly, the screen actually just scrolls, and you're like, over there now.
It's time for this part. So originally that was like literally what would happen is like you would actually like have the scene just shift over. It's like, okay, now you're here.
Right. So the other, I mean, obviously that particular method in role playing is exhausting, and I don't care how many people make excuses for it. It's going to play will deteriorate in that situation. Now, on the other hand, you also have what I like to call the what's the name of that play? Marty. I think the play is called Marty. But the tagline, it's one of these it's one of these plays with tons of incidental dialogue, very naturalistic incidental dialogue. And one phrase that's, repeated over and over again, it's, what do you want to do, Marty? And the answer is, I don't know. What do you want to do? And so I call it the Marty problem in role playing. where the GM, says, okay, it's all set. So what do you guys do next? And then they're all Marty all of a sudden.
Right. They're like, well, hey, it's your game.
Yeah, exactly. They're like,
you're
they start doing
teller of stories.
Yeah, and they also start doing that button pushing thing. Well, I talked to a guy. They just start button pushing on anything that they can think of because they figure that you want the stimulus. You're like a rat, right? You need your,
right.
They're gonna if they push, they're the rats. If they push the lever enough, the food pellet will drop. And so so those are kind of the problems, right? The two problems. One is when you say, I don't care what you do, go. The other one is when you're sitting there looking at them waiting for proactivity and they don't have it. They just don't have it.
Right.
And they start flailing around or, start looking for secret doors or some shit like that. Right. So,
right.
So that really is the concern, not the concern, it's the question, right? Do we have enough momentum regarding what's on their sheets, right? All those things that they've got on their sheets, resources that they can tap, people to go talk to, or even better, I'm talking more motivational stuff. They care about what's going on. Right. And I have found that Sorcerer plays very well in this way. Sorcerer plays really well, once you're using the right techniques and people kind of get over the idea that, no, this is not Call of Cthulhu. And, they aren't going to, find that it's going down at the warehouse at midnight, any minute. Or as long as they keep making investigative rolls, then they will be framed into the right place for the right fight.
Right.
Then when they realize that's not the case, when you and when a certain kind of, it doesn't happen with every player at the table, but you can see when it does, this kind of charge appears where all of a sudden you are effectively being game mastered by the player, because there is no way they are not going to do that next thing that they're going to do. And any ninjas you throw through the window at them, that's a speed bump as far as that player is concerned. And so that's kind of what you're aiming at with this, right? That the players are going
to your point, there will be ninjas. I mean, it's just going to happen.
I get that, but the point
it's unavoidable.
Right, I get that. But the point is that it's not. They're not standing around waiting for the ninjas because that's what we do. They are they're in motion. They're working towards something, right?
Ideally, they're using their skills, or it's not. Because I don't want it to be just like use your skills, find the clues, because I don't want to have any clues.
Whatever, man. There's computer games. Computer games do all that shit better than we ever will.
Yeah, exactly.
Why bother, right?
Yeah,
we're doing something.
And I already got that on my system with the Parsley games, where it's like I don't need to lead you down the. So, if this was a movie or a book or whatever, comic, this would be the time where they're using their skills is going to take them to the next thing, or talking to the right person.
Oh,
so it's going to be, and it's the third thing. The third thing also is going to be going to a location, because locations are important in this game.
Talking about before. Because what you're really talking about is that if they want the confrontation that they want, if they want a particular kind of confrontation, they are literally framing the next scenes and the nature of the confrontation themselves.
Can you go into?
Succeed, think about Burke and Flood luring the neo-Nazis into exactly the right place.
Yeah, right.
And that was, okay, we got our ducks in a row and we made our rolls and we have solved that problem, right? There may still be like confrontational aspects of it where we might get hurt, but it is really, we are locked and loaded we are rolling 5-6 dice, right? We are in good place for this shit. And it's our
James and Gunther are in their arena.
Exactly. This is our place that we have got them into. Even if they think it's an isolated alley or whatever, it's ours, right? Now,
do you know what's funny is I was just reading the part where Flood's like, I want this guy to show up at my studio so I can just kill him.
Right.
And Burke's like, you're not ready. And she's like, I've never been more ready. And he's like, no, he has her visualize the tiles on the wall.
Right.
And it's basically a game board.
Right.
And he's like, his tile is here. We're trying to get it so that he can't go anywhere else but the square that we're leaving him open.
Exactly.
And
no, this is absolutely it. So, but the point is that the players need to know that this is their job, right? This is what the game can do. This is what this game can do that other games don't. This is, or at least brings it forward in a way so that it's not like this limping and halting and who knows what process. It's actually really, you can feel it. It's like, we got that into place. If we're, we can get this the way we want. So you even talk about what people are we calling into this? What locations are we going to use? What skill do I want to be using? I want this situation long before those fuckers even show up. I've already got such control over this. I know it's skill. I'm not responding to them. They're
and that ties into
me, right?
That ties into the whole thing where if you're going against if you're going against Cobra or Morte in the Burke novels, you don't want to get into a fist fight with them.
No, they'll take
because then you're going to lose dice.
Right.
You want to frame it some other way so that you have the advantage.
In this case, the nice thing is that you have these different ways that you do or don't get dice. So the successes along this way are actually snapping into place. Okay, this skill is going to be the skill I can use. Okay, this location is where it's going to be, and that leads to this or that kind of thing. So you're literally shaping the situation around them. And if you fail at one of them, you'll get the others, but they're going to be better prepared than you hoped, for example, in one way or another. So you can't use your best skill. You have to use another skill. They were onto your shit. Right.
So, and because locations aren't just like, okay, we find a place, blah, blah, blah. It's like, you need
these are a big deal. These are
it has to either exist and you control it, or it doesn't exist and I control it.
Right. Exactly.
So pick which one you want to have the fight in.
Can you make new locations during the
fight?
Right. So
but you have to, something has to happen to,
I get that.
Generate that.
That's exactly the kind of thing I'm talking about. It's kind of interesting.
There are no, we go to this place and we go to this coffee shop on the corner. I'm like, is it on your character sheet?
Right.
Then you can't.
There was a character that he made up in the first book, I think, that I really liked, and he dropped it. He didn't develop the character or bring him back.
Which one?
It was the Cuban leftist group leader.
Oh, Pablo. Yeah, Pablo,
and it's great.
The doctor,
and it's hilarious. There's one point where Pablo starts like thinking, well, this is a political problem, and Burke kind of rolls his eyes and he's like, Pablo thinks stop signs are political, right? The joke is because they're colored red, right? And so it's an American plot to have red stop signs that say stop, like stop communism, right?
Right.
So and I was kind of like, I like Pablo. I want more great. Pablo. I want him commenting more. That's hilarious. So but the point is that Pablo is, you can see what he's doing in the story. The thing that I'm after here is that now I think we've got a somewhat better, that whole scene with Burke talking to Flood, right? We've got a somewhat better idea now, I think, right, of what to do then, right? Okay, I'll talk to you later on. Gotta go. Take care.
Bye-bye. Thanks.